Welcome, everyone, to the HeroX Innovation Leadership Speaker Series. I'm Jamie Elliott. I'm joined today by Matt Callison. He's the Director of Innovation and Strategic Partnerships at the South Fayette Township School District. Matt, it's really great to have you here today.
Great to be here, Jamie.
Yeah, so tell us about yourself. Tell me a little bit about your innovation journey.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm currently the proud Director of Innovation and Strategic Partnerships for South Fayette Township School District, just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I started my journey in education in Oakland, California as a AmeriCorps volunteer and eventually earned my certification and taught in the Bay Area for almost 10 years. And in that time as a classroom teacher, I was primarily an elementary school teacher and was always looking for innovative practices, innovative ways to connect students to opportunities outside the classroom. And then in 2010, I wanted to have a greater impact on education. So I started working on my PhD at Indiana University Bloomington and focused on problem and project based learning primarily and ed leadership, and ended up working after as part of my doctoral program, started an ed tech company with a colleague, did that for a few years, ended up working for the university in their instructional design department, which worked with all campuses across the state of Indiana. And then in March 2021, moved to Pittsburgh to start this journey.
It sounds impactful. It sounds honestly like a rewarding pathway along the way, right? You got to impact some lives in a very positive way. That's really cool.
It's been a good journey, and I've had an opportunity to work in urban, rural, suburban schools and across multiple states in different capacities. So really able to see the education sector, I think, from a unique perspective compared to a lot of educators, which end up, working in the same district or same school or the same state. I've had the opportunity to look at it from a different lens, I think.
Awesome. So tell me about South Fayette and how you all do innovation, how you see innovation in the township.
Yeah, so South Fayette Township School District is a unique school district in that we are located on one campus. So we have around 3,600 students across K through 12. We have four schools, a K through 2 building, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and then a high school 9 through 12, all located on one campus. So it's almost like a college experience in that faculty, staff, students can all walk between buildings. And at one time, our district was the fastest growing in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we went from a very small rural school to being a very high performing district noted across the country for innovation. And part of that, I think, came from really strong leadership from the district standpoint, superintendent, and then the person in my role prior to me joining the district. They spent a lot of time building this culture of innovation, particularly around STEAM, STEM, and computational thinking. And I think since the time I joined the district, there was a leadership transition. So, new superintendent, new assistant superintendent who'd been in the district for a long time, but was new to that role, new curriculum director, new Matt, director of innovation, a bunch of new people coming in with fresh ideas and really thinking about how do we continue to build on this foundation of innovation and grow, and how can we expand what innovation is so that it's more inclusive of all students and all faculty and really meeting the needs of students as they are today.
That's impressive. Like I said, refreshing. It sounds like a lot of fun. What kind of programs do you guys work on? What kind of stuff have you started up or do you have going now?
Yeah, so I have a long list. I'll list some of them. So one of the things I did early on was I applied and received on behalf of the district a $500,000 PA Smart grant, and so with that grant, we were able to purchase a commercial scale hydroponic farm, which is in a shipping container. So in a 40-foot by 60-foot or 20-foot, sorry, 8-foot by 40-foot shipping container, we can grow between 4 to 6 tons of produce a year. We have our life skills students as being the hydroponic farmers. They're growing produce to sell to our culinary arts partner in the CTC. They run a restaurant and have a culinary arts program. And so our students grow produce for that program, as well as they will make lunch, sell lunches for teachers across the campus. That also was connected to a data science initiative. We worked with Stanford University and UCubed to build out a K through 12 data science pathway, incorporating data science into our STEAM program. So that's one thing. Another thing, we launched a 3-year cybersecurity program, which prepares students to pass an industry level certification. We did that in partnership with a company called Paradigm Cyber Ventures and Digital Promise, a national nonprofit organization. Last year, the year before, we created in partnership with Carnegie Mellon University and their Entertainment Technology Center, we built an immersive reality room. So it's a round room that features a 270-degree screen. There's a variety of sensors in there, but students can wear just like 3D glasses that you'd wear in the movie. And we actually launched a course then at the high school where students are learning how to use that technology to build 3D immersive experiences. We also have a blockchain Web3 class that we launched. We're in conversation with the University of Pittsburgh to look at quantum information science and incorporate that into our curriculum across K through 12. Have started a design thinking initiative also with some faculty members from Carnegie Mellon University, and really looking at how do we leverage design thinking to transform the high school experience in terms of course offerings, in terms of what actually happens in courses, and then in terms of other aspects of a school. We equip teachers with this mindset and these tools. What kind of innovation can we unleash for our learners? We have esports program we launched recently, Fly Like a Girl Drone Academy, where students are earning their FAA pilot's license for drone operation. And we have just this last summer we wrapped up a freight to plate food trailer. So it's a size commercial scale, food trailer. It's a not a truck. We have to haul it with another truck, so it's a trailer. But we've outfitted that as a YouTube streaming studio so we can capture whatever learning is taking place in that space. Kind of riffing on the idea of like that show Comedians in Cars with Coffee, where Jerry Seinfeld's interviewing comedians while he drives around. The idea is like, can we capture chefs in a trailer cooking and food, our culture, history, and it's a way to connect people. And so we're looking at different creative ways to utilize that asset. And we're also not separate from that, not totally connected, but in parallel with that, we're launching next year a food science course. We have 2 chemistry teachers who are foodies. We've sent them to meet with some chefs to gain some skills, and they're launching a science course, science of food, that can be taken and earn, students can earn a science credit for taking that. So those are some of the things. I could keep going, but really trying to innovate around our offerings for students, making sure that they're connected to what's happening in the outside world, connected to emerging jobs and fields, and then also building this culture of innovation among teachers and empowering them to continue to innovate in the classroom and outside. Around all that, like, how do we create a sense of belonging for every student, every faculty member, every teacher that's part of our district?
Wow. Sounds like a really great time to be a student in South Fayette Township.
I think so. And honestly, one of our challenges is in the last few years, we've launched so many new programs and opportunities for students. There is a challenge around communicating to students and families, helping them understand that we have these opportunities and helping them see that they could belong in that space. Different people have different perceptions about where they think they should belong. And so it's about communication, and it's about building that sense of belonging. So every student is aware of every opportunity they could participate in, and every student feels like they could belong in that space.
Right. Yeah, that community aspect is important, and it's also challenging. We get to help with that at HeroX with the way we have our community, right? NASA has a community of over 70,000 people on our platform that are informed anytime a new challenge launches. And FAA did a challenge through NASA. You mentioned the FAA drone licenses, and it was a data science challenge, and it was for university students to come up with innovative solutions to help make the skies safer. And really, really cool innovations. And I think the design thinking piece is interesting too, because personally, I get to help run, or I get to run design thinking workshops
Mhm.
with our partners when we want to launch new challenges and dive into those problems and understand what would be a good fit for crowdsourcing. I'm curious, with all these different programs and all these different initiatives, how do you decide which ones? Where do the ideas come from of, hey, we should create a hydroponic farm in a trailer? Like
Mhm.
where do those types of ideas originate?
Yeah, so I some ideas originate with me, some ideas originate with teachers or my colleagues. And I think, part of the exciting part, or part of my role that I really love, is that I need to be out in the world, seeing things, meeting people, understanding what's happening in terms of, like, in our region, economically, innovation wise, what's happening, where are there opportunities to connect. And then in terms of teachers, I feel like my role, I want to be the administrator that I wish I had when I was teaching. And I want to not say no, but say, how might we? And say yes. And, break down barriers, provide resources, help teachers navigate complex bureaucratic processes, all those things. So I think it's, my colleagues also have a ton of great ideas. This freight to plate food trailer, that was the assistant superintendent, Kristen Deichler, and myself. We kind of were brainstorming about how to extend what we're doing with the freight farm. How do we involve more students? How do we, you know, continue to build on this theme of science and food and data science and finding ways to connect people. So I think these ideas come from a variety of places and people. The freight farm, right after I started in the district, I visited a school district that's maybe like 30 minutes away, and they've had a freight farm for around a decade. I saw that and I was like, I really like the possibility of having that resource on campus. How might I go about acquiring one of those? And so then, look, I'm always looking at grant opportunities. And so those things aligned with that particular opportunity. But one of the other things we do to help spur innovation in teachers is we take them on site visits. So through AASA, through Remake Learning, there are opportunities to visit schools in the region and then schools across the country. So like this fall, we took some teachers to a school district in California. In March, we're going to go take some teachers to Dallas. So getting teachers, and I also take teachers to tech companies in the area. I call it like a bridge to the future teacher field trip. And we'll go visit like Duolingo in the morning, grab lunch, and then visit like a robotics company in the afternoon. And so all this is to say, it's important for myself and for our educators to be out of the classroom to see what's happening in the real world, to see what tech companies are doing and what their physical spaces look like, to hear what kind of skills they're looking for people that they hire, and visiting schools and seeing how they use space and how they are doing personalized learning or implementing AI. We have a ton of people from all across the country that visit our district every year because of the innovation we're doing, and we don't have all the answers. And so I really like to take teachers and other leaders in our district out to see new things. I think that's essential to like keeping an open mind and spurring those ideas.
At what point in any of these initiatives or programs do the students become involved? Are your partner teachers building it into their semester or quarter curricula? Is it cross age, cross grade type thing? How does that work?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the program. One of the long-standing like traditions in our district is this idea of little bets or small bets. There's a book by Peter Sims around that. And so often with an innovative idea, we'll start as like an after school club, or we'll start in one class, a teacher will just pilot something in a low stakes way just to gain, to understand, is this going to work? Is this something students like? Is there traction here? So that's one way. I think the other piece is, kind of depending on the program we do, and I try to think about when I'm coming up with ideas or thinking about implementation, like how do we actively engage students? Their students are very, especially like teenage students, are very motivated when they know that their work is real and they have an impact on the world. So we think about how can we implement whatever the innovation is in a way where students have agency and are partners in that. So with the cavern, we could have just purchased like an off the shelf immersive reality, set of equipment, plug that into a room, and then sort of called it done. Instead, we went with this partnership with Carnegie Mellon, where they're continuing to develop this immersive reality technology. And then so it's going to continue to evolve, and our students and teachers can have input on how that evolves. And then we created a high school course around it. So students are learning how to use that technology to create an activity, an experience, a story that other people in our school can experience. With our cybersecurity, we're looking at internships, job shadows, potentially in the long run, starting a like cybersecurity clinic where students can work with small businesses and offer services. So, and even like our third grade students, we have a partnership with the National Aviary where all third grade students in the STEAM class, which is all third grade students, engage in this design process, thinking about how to create enrichment for 6 different bird species at the National Aviary. So, we really try to always think about how do we engage students in this work so it's not something that's done to them but it's done with them, and they have agency and they're a part of that process. It's going to look different, kindergarten versus 12th grade, but we take intentional effort to try to figure that piece out.
It's really smart. It sounds very well thought out. I imagine there are those out there in a similar position or in a position that was similar to that you were in 2021 or um, near that time where they're in a growing school district, right? And so there are things to figure out, strategies to set, um, and you're working within not the confines, but the structure of a school district.
Mhm.
What advice would you have for people in similar positions where they want to cultivate that innovation and make it a real thing in their school district?
Yeah, great question. So first, I think innovation is a team sport. So part of this is built on this idea of that's been developed in Pittsburgh over the past 20, 30 years through Remake Learning. They're a nonprofit and really focused on developing the ecosystem around education. And so in the region, we have a lot more collaboration between districts than I think other areas. I would I would say probably more than any other part in the country, but definitely more than any part that I've lived in or worked in. But this idea of an ecosystem around education, it's a team sport. I, as the director of innovation, can't do everything. And if I have an innovation that I can do myself, it's not very innovative. So I really think about this idea of an ecosystem. I think about this idea of who, not how. People often start thinking about, sort of like the how am I going to get this done, the tactical, practical steps. And that can often immediately put up barriers and cause an initiative or an idea to stall. And so if I think of, or someone in my position thinks of who can help me make this a reality, not how am I going to do it, I think that builds that team approach, that builds that ecosystem. And regardless of what community you're in, there are people in the district, in the community, in the business community that are interested and have resources, have time to partner and build things with you as a school district. So I think that's another piece, that who, not how. And that's from a book by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, Who Not How. I recommend that book. And I think often people get sidelined mentally by money. Everything costs money, and schools are, typically under resourced. And so someone might have an idea and then like immediately see the price tag, and then they're like, oh, I can't do this. And I think, again, it's an opportunity to step back, knowing that, yes, everything costs money, and certain things may not be feasible in the way that you thought of them initially. But again, thinking about ecosystem, partnerships, team approach, we've been able to do a lot of things. Some of those things I listed because we turn to people in our staff, and like in terms of our facilities team, that could build things, make things, change things on their own. So we're not paying extra other than supplies. We've been able to partner with Parkway, our CTC. They have HVAC, plumbing, electrical, construction. They have, the culinary arts program, and they for our freight farm, they ran then all the electrical for it. From the time I put in the grant until the time we received the grant, between supply chain issues and inflation, like we could not have done the project if we had not partnered with the CTC. And they've also helped with our esports. They built tables. They built a huge jumbotron for our esports arena. Like, we continue to find partners who are willing to work with us and collaborate with us to help make things a reality. And I think there's that opportunity in every community, and it's about like communicating that vision, being very specific in the ask, and being okay with people saying no, and just moving on to the next people, and trying to tell your story in a way that brings people on board and makes them excited to partner with you and to see the possibility of what could happen. So I think those are some of the things that I would recommend, and that I try to do in my own work.
Yeah, and we will definitely include in the description of this. We'll definitely include the links to the books you mentioned. Other things we can include, how folks can learn more and get involved in what you're doing.
Yeah, so you can visit our website, southfayette.org. That's one starting point. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, all those places if you look for South Fayette Township School District. And our communications director and superintendent do a great job of posting things on Twitter all the time in terms of what's happening. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect, but those are some of the easy places to connect with me. LinkedIn and our school website.
Fantastic. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. This has been such a cool journey, and it sounds like you've had such a cool journey. I really appreciate what you're doing in your school district. I think it's some of the most important work that can be done. And so thanks for everything.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Appreciate this opportunity to share what we're doing.
All right, take care.